Winter is coming. Nope, not a Game of Thrones reference, just a fact. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter is soon to arrive. Indeed, we're kinda lucky that it hasn't just yet. I live here on the prairies in Canada, just past the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, which means I'm no stranger to a long, dark winter and what it takes to get through. My name is Cheryl Arkeson, and no, I'm not a homesteader or pioneer trying to survive on the fruits of my summer labor. I'm just a modern quilter who embraces winter and all her creative possibilities. Let me tell you why. I've long felt that quilting is a mostly seasonal pursuit, at least when it comes to stereotypes. Summer is for literally making hay while the sun shines, and winter is for mostly indoor activities. My own grandmother, or Baba as we called her, lived this way. She was an avid gardener, and she spent 6 months of the year gardening in some form, whether that was starting seeds, getting through the summer, and then canning all of her results at the end of the year. And then in the winter, she spent 6 months cross-stitching inside all the time. So I guess that's where my model, my stereotype, comes from. Yet I quilt year-round. Most people I know quilt year-round. This is 2025. The vast majority of us have power, running water, and access to grocery stores 24 hours a day. So why do I still think seasonally when it comes to quilting? Well, the weather, for one. It gets colder, and we're spending so much more time indoors. There's no more coming home from work and sitting on the front steps with a cold drink and watching the neighborhood kids run around. More like coming home, making sure something warm is simmering for dinner, and really, really hoping you don't have to bundle up and leave the house again for the night. The light, it makes a difference too. At this time of year, our days are getting very short. If you don't go out at lunchtime, there is a chance you might not feel the sun on your face at all, because it likely rose long after your day started and it will set before you even think about dinner. That too tends to keep us inside. And when you're inside and it's dark, you think cozy things. For a quilter, that means you think quilts. Then there's the time itself. We're spending all of that time at home because of the cold and dark evenings, so we have more time. And really, there's only so much of a screen that I can take personally, so I've got a quilt. I definitely notice a difference in the amount of time I spend quilting during the winter months. I can usually count on a few more quilt finishes and definitely more moments spent under a quilt, whether that's new or old. Truthfully though, the biggest difference I see isn't just the time itself, it's how I spend the time. In the warmer months, I might come to quilting in fleeting moments, 20 minutes here, maybe an hour there. This is aside from my regular morning make practice, of course. But in the winter months, I might spend a few hours in a row at the machine or playing on the design wall, much like I might curl up with a good book and a mug of cocoa or open some wine and settle in for a Christmas movie. I will often hunker down and sew. Now take all of this with one big caveat. I live in a northern climate. This is my winter. And in the summer and fall, I want to be outside as much as possible. I want to enjoy the weather and the sunshine. So of course I'm quilting less. If you live in the southern hemisphere, you might be in that phase of wanting to get outside again, getting dirt under your fingernails, getting your steps in the sun, or if you're really, really lucky, and I'm totally jealous of you, sand under your toes. You're probably not thinking of quilting all that much. I've also heard from folks in warm climates that they are the opposite of us cold climate folks. When the weather is hot, 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 you're spending more time indoors because you have air conditioning. Then when it cools off in the winter, you go outside more and quilt less. I guess all of this is to say that if you notice a change in your quilting habits with a change in the weather, know that it's normal. And if you notice it, well, then you can plan for it. So a couple of things that I do in the way of planning for it. I'll start by giving you an example of a mistake that I made. One time, a few years back, I made a commitment to hand quilt a quilt in July. Now that particular July, we had a heat dome that came through, so I could not rely on cool mornings. It was hot, and guess what? We don't have air conditioning in our house. But I powered through sitting under that quilt to put my stitches in, and I will never do that again. Indeed, if I have any hand stitching in the summer months, it generally involves only small projects or maybe some applique or small scale piecing. No more quilts on my lap. I'm going to save those for winter. Speaking of saving for winter, I've had a couple of quilts that have been put aside waiting to have their bindings stitched down. Those I saved for when the weather turned cozy again. So it's a good transition to the winter months. Another thing that I've planned for is light. I've learned, because of the dark days and my middle-aged eyes, that I needed better light at home. I am a candles everywhere, no overhead lights kind of person, and so that's the house we typically have, and so everyone's used to not having bright lights. That's not so great for hand sewing. So I recently purchased a fancy LED light that is focused and direct for stitching, and it's really bright for that, and it's going to be perfect. My kids, however, are very against this brightness, so I only use it when I'm stitching, which is fair. But at the same time, it's winter, so I know I'm going to be doing a lot of that stitching. So if they don't like it, well, they can go play in the snow. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. I am Cheryl Arkeson. Have a lovely day. I hope you find the time to play.